Some shops will be allowed to open even during the lockdown, but what can open and what cannot? That and all the other big stories of the day right here on Outbreak News. The Ministry of Home Affairs yesterday released a notice saying that shops in residential areas would be allowed to open even during the lockdown, which caused a lot of confusion over what can and cannot open. And today they issued a clarification. So, what can open? Well, shops that are registered under the Shops and Establishment Act of the state that are located in a residential area that sell any goods, even non essential goods, can open from today. So, shops in malls or market complexes cannot open, shops that provide services like barbers or restaurants cannot open, and shops must maintain social distancing and only function with 50% staff. The sale of liquor, as earlier, is still prohibited. However, this only pertains to physical shops, so e-commerce services can still only sell essential goods. And of course, no shops can be open in the notified containment zones. All of these are just guidelines by the ministry, so the final decision on whether shops can open or not lies with the individual state governments. The World Health Organization has warned that there is currently no evidence that people who have recovered from COVID-19 cannot get infected again. Many countries around the world had been making plans to let recovered people rejoin the workforce and kickstart the economy since they now have antibodies against COVID-19. But according to the WHO, this can have serious consequences as people could be falsely labeled, increasing the risk of transmission. At this point in the pandemic, they say there is not enough evidence to take this kind of risk. Hong Kong's top epidemiologist has warned against the easing of lockdowns in Europe, saying that you need a sledgehammer to bring down the rate of infections before reopening society. As many European countries look to ease restrictions, Gabriel Lung, who is the Dean of Medicine at the University of Hong Kong, has said that lockdowns are a marathon and not a sprint. And the world really needs to learn to live with the coronavirus. He said that containment has failed everywhere and that many cycles of the imposition and lifting of restrictions will be necessary before we can reopen society. More than 20 heads of state and global health figures pledged unprecedented collaboration on efforts against the coronavirus, including the development of a vaccine. The virtual meeting was meant to show that wealthy countries will not hide the results of anti-coronavirus research from developing nations. Leaders at the meeting also endorsed the World Health Organization's efforts in the fight against COVID-19 in light of US President Donald Trump's decision to halt funding for the body and criticize it for acting subordinate to China. In attendance were the leaders of countries like Germany and France, along with American philanthropist Bill Gates and the WHO Director General. Not in attendance was the United States of America. And speaking of the USA, not long after Donald Trump's much criticized remarks about injecting disinfectants as a possible cure for the coronavirus, the White House is considering scaling back his appearances at such briefings. Currently, the briefings stretch on for more than an hour and feature a lot of Trump fighting with reporters. The Associated Press reports that Trump's advisors are currently trying to convince him to let health officials take the lead at briefings and only appear if there is a major announcement to be made. And I shouldn't have to say this, but to be absolutely clear, it is extremely dangerous to ingest any form of disinfectant as it could kill you. Those were all the big stories from today. For all the latest news from around the world and from India on the coronavirus outbreak, stay tuned to NDTV Hop Live.